Dreams didn't make us kings. Dragons did.
The Greens are coming for you, Rhaenyra, and for your children.
We don't choose our destiny. It chooses us.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This will be my new House of the Dragon video. I'll talk about all the dragons because they're hyping up a bunch of new dragons in the finale, and obviously we're going to see a bunch more during Season 2. There's going to be 17 total during the entire run of the series. So I will explain who all the dragons are, who rides them, because they call them the Dragon Seeds, and they're going to be really big during Season 2. We're going to hear a little bit about them during Episode 10 of the finale. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. I will be doing House of the Dragon bonus videos during the off-season while we wait for Season 2 to arrive as well. But the actual title of the episode is The Black Queen, because Rhaenyra's side in the Dance of the Dragons is referred to as the Blacks, because she's going to crown herself with her father's crown, like you literally see Eric with an E, one of the twins, hand the crown to her. Thank you very much for bogarting that from the Red Keep. You can also see a faction of the Kingsguard who supports her, who's still loyal to her, who comes to Dragonstone. Not all the Kingsguard, but some of them. They teased that during Episode 9, like there's this big rift where some of them support the Greens, and some of them still support Rhaenyra. The reason why they call them the Blacks and the Greens is because of the colors of the gowns that Rhaenyra and Alicent typically wore. Like, they wore different types of gowns, but they typically wore the same colors of gowns. There's a much deeper meaning as to why Rhaenyra always wore black and why Alicent always wore green. I'll talk about that in my future videos, like my finale video as well. But typically during the actual dance itself, when each faction is referring to the other one, or making battle plans, or just relaying information about the other faction, they refer to them as the Greens or the Blacks. For the most part this season, the story is only focused on the core family itself, like the core nuclear family, with a few side characters and distant relatives. Criston Cole and Harold Westerling are examples of important characters who are really close to the story, but not part of the actual family. Even though I'm sure Criston Cole wishes he was part of Alicent's family. We know what you're thinking about there. They very clearly have some weird thing going on, and even though she had all the weird feet stuff going on with Larys Strong, it kind of sounds like she wasn't sleeping around or anything like that. Like, the worst thing that she did was do the feet stuff with Larys Strong. And that was mostly because he was just trying to prove to her how much power he had over her. Like, that was a big power play from him. He was getting off on that. Amongst other things, he was kind of getting off on the feet as well. Even though both of the sides are going to be doing very terrible things to each other's side, you do feel a little bit bad for Alicent. She's got all this power, but she's somehow the least powerful person in this equation. Like, she winds up losing no matter how much the Greens win. To say nothing of Aegon II turning into like the next coming of Joffrey, even though technically this is earlier in the timeline. So technically Joffrey would be more like him than him being more like Joffrey. The reason why I say the story is so focused on the actual nuclear royal family itself is, one, because of the whole Targaryen civil war, like it's a war within their family, but also because of the Targaryen, the Valyrian bloodline in the Dragon Riders. Like, yes, this is all about the Iron Throne, all about the crown, but it's all about the dragons too. So the whole idea is that we've been focusing the story on the royal family itself, like the nuclear family, because they're all dragon riders for the most part. You have some Valyrians who have married into the family who aren't dragon riders, but like Rhaenys, for instance, is a Targaryen. She's of Targaryen blood. Baela and Rhaena are Valyrians technically, but they're Daemon's children, so they're also dragon riders. When we actually spin up to big dragon battles in the sky, like we're talking Season 2 stuff, maybe a little bit during Episode 10, there are a ton more people that become really important characters for the story because they're either dragon seeds or close advisors to each faction's small council, like the Green Council and Rhaenyra's Black Council. And that's what we mean when we say the dragon seeds. Dragon seeds are just people of Valyrian descent, either Targaryens or Valyrians, or they're bastards from one of the houses who aren't technically inside the line of succession. But they still have Valyrian blood, they still have the gene for riding dragons. I think most of them will meet during Season 2, but they might tease some of them during Episode 10. Just because there's so much story that they have to cover, and they've already teased so much in the trailer so far. But you get that voiceover from Daemon in the trailer saying, "Dreams didn't make the Targaryen kings, dragons did." That's meant to flow with the other dialogue during the battle planning meeting when they say their faction wields a power that hasn't been seen in Westeros since the time of Aegon the Conqueror. And both those comments are just references to the sheer quantity of dragons that Rhaenyra's side has compared to the Greens. Currently at the start of the dance, Rhaenyra's side controls about 14 or 15 dragons, plus they have access to a couple more dragon eggs. There are 10 members of the royal family, all who have their own dragons. There's one Valyrian bastard called Adam Valerion who rides Sea Smoke after Laenor Valerian. The show might do something weird with that character, or they might not include him, or they might say that he's actually Laenor Valerian just using a fake name. I'm a totally new person. I just happen to be riding the same dragon as Laenor Velaryon. Nobody asks questions or look at me too long. And there are two new Targaryen bastards who are born on Dragonstone that they haven't introduced on the show yet. One called Ulf White, who rides Silverwing, who used to belong to Alicent Targaryen, who was Jaehaerys' wife. And the other being someone called Hugh Hammer, who winds up riding Vermithor, who we do see in the trailers. That's the giant dragon that Daemon winds up summoning. There are 3 other wild dragons that they have access to as well, but they don't currently have riders for at the moment. Like, they're looking for as many dragon riders as possible to support their side. There's the Sheep Stealer, who's ridden by Nettles eventually. There's Cannibal, who's ridden by someone called Silver Deniz. And there's one other wild dragon called Grey Ghost, but neither faction in the Dance of the Dragons winds up being able to claim him, so he just goes riderless through the entire dance. The reason why there are wild dragons to begin with, because you think, wow, wouldn't you actually want as many dragons to be ridden as possible? You have to remember that during the time of Jaehaerys, even though he had tons of kids, most of them died either early deaths or mysterious deaths way before their time. So up to this point, there just haven't been that many people of Valyrian descent. There have been more dragons than there have been people to ride them. Because of what's happened with the Dance of the Dragons and Viserys getting remarried to Alicent and her having a whole litter of children and then having some grandchildren on top of that because of Aegon II and Helena's children, in all of Daemon's marriages and remarriages to Rhaenyra and all the extra children that they wind up having, right now, where we are in the timeline, there are more people of Valyrian descent who are capable of riding dragons than in any other time in history. So basically, during the dance, you just have their factions just looking for all the riderless dragons, like, hey, dragon, come here, we need you for something really important. You also have a lot of people in the Targaryen bloodline before this that just didn't have a lot of kids or died early or mysterious deaths. Thus all the problems you have with the line of succession and who winds up taking the Iron Throne. There have been a couple big battles. Maegor was another big battle that got fought a long time ago. As you see in the trailer, Rhaenyra still riding Syrax. You actually see a parallel for episode 2 when she lands Syrax on the bridge here, getting ready to fight the Greens. She's also wearing Viserys' crown when she does that too. Daemon is also on the bridge, just like he was during episode 2, pulling his sword on Otto Hightower, just like they did before. Daemon obviously still riding Caraxes, even though he's getting Vermithor. He doesn't wind up riding Vermithor, that winds up being someone else. Jaehaerys still rides Vermax, Lucerys rides Arrax, who we see in the trailer for the first time, getting ready to fight Aemond at Storm's End. I'll talk about that in a second too. Joffrey Valyrian's dragon is called Taraxes. Her first son with Daemon, Aegon III, winds up riding a dragon called Stormcloud. Her second son with Daemon, Viserys II, has a dragon egg, but obviously he's a baby, like he's too young to actually ride a dragon. Rhaenys still has Meleys, who we see in the trailer, getting ready to fly to one of the other realms to get one of the other lords to support them. Baela is riding Moondancer, and Rhaena rides a dragon called Morning. There is a lot of backstabbing and betrayal during the Dance of the Dragon, so like not everybody who fights for the Blacks at the beginning winds up fighting for them in the end. Like people do switch sides during the actual war, but that's like over the course of a couple seasons. It's a lot like the War of the Five Kings with all the betrayal. You have the whole idea of the betrayal during the Red Wedding. There's a lot of that kind of stuff that goes on during the Dance of the Dragons. Currently, the Greens only control 6 dragons, and all the dragon riders are members of the core royal nuclear family. But like I said, there is some betrayal, like some dragon riders do eventually wind up switching sides throughout the many seasons of the show. Aegon II still rides Sunfyre, really hoping that we get to see Sunfyre again before the finale is over. Helaena rides a dragon called Dreamfyre, which is ironic because she has dragon dreams and she rides a dragon called Dreamfyre. Fun fact too, Daenerys' dragon eggs also came from Dreamfyre. That's why Dreamfyre looks a lot like Daenerys' dragons. Aemond Targaryen obviously rides Vhagar. Daemon Targaryen, who is a character that they didn't use during season 1 that much, but he is around. He's Alicent's 4th child with Viserys. He's supposed to be like a page inside King's Landing somewhere else during the events of season 1. We'll see him during season 2. He rides a dragon called Tessarion. They did show his symbol in the intro though, just to let you know, oh, he's alive, we'll do him eventually. Aegon and Helena's 2 children here, Jaehaerys and Jaehaera, both have dragons. Jaehaerys rides a dragon called Shrykos, and Jaehaera rides a dragon called Morgul. Their 3rd child, Maelor, does have a dragon egg though. We haven't seen the 3rd child yet, but the 3rd child is also represented in the intro, like there's a 3rd symbol here, meaning that it does exist, it is alive. And even though they're hyping up Jaehaerys going to Winterfell to try and win over House Stark, which sounds like they're going to declare for Rhaenyra, really cool to see the Starks coming back into the story. I think most of the action of the trailer is focused on Storm's End with this big rematch between Aemond and Lucerys. The big thing about this is that Lucerys has this tiny dragon, like Arrax is tiny compared to Vhagar, so he'd have no chance if Vhagar got his claws into him. The big advantage that the smaller dragons have is that they're way faster than the bigger, older dragons and way more maneuverable. So that's why you see them flying all over the place in this giant storm. Like, it's called the Stormlands for a reason. So it'll be like an elephant attacking a mouse. And obviously Lucerys has no desire to fight his cousin. Like, he doesn't have bloodlust in him. Like, he doesn't live for chaos the way that it seems like Aemond does. Regardless of what their history is, like, clearly he doesn't hate Aemond, but Aemond is just itching to get revenge for losing his eye to Lucerys when they were younger. That's why it looks like he rips off his eye patch to show Lucerys his sapphire eye, like, see what you did to me? That's also why Aemond's symbol in the intro is represented by the sapphire, to represent his sapphire eye. So the big threat here is that even though Lucerys has no desire to actually fight Aemond, Aemond craves fighting. I am sure the episode will be just as heart-wrenching and WTF as you would expect, but it will fully be an eye for an eye, like make all the references to eyes that you want during their big fight scene. The big idea, though, that before everybody claims all their support from all these different lords, different realms declare for each side, Rhaenyra's side seems like it has the advantage because they have so many more dragons than the Greens. But remember, things change really fast. It will literally be a battle royale. My full episode 10 finale video will post Sunday after they release it, and then I'll start doing more bonus videos for season 2 after the finale actually comes out. If you have any big questions or anything I didn't address during this video, just write it below in the comments and I'll try to add it to my bonus videos in my finale video. It is going to be crazy in the best possible way. Everyone click here for my episode 10 video. I'll update the link as soon as I post that, and click here for all my other House of the Dragon videos. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.